bucks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the MyNTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning. Eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
My question is, what is the difference between rental tax and income tax? How comes I'm paying both taxes on my own premises? If you want to have a tin, but you are not making any income from your business, you should take on the obligation to continue filing your nil return.
Commissioner General, to invest in taxation, when people understand taxes and they know the importance of taxes and they know the fair assessment of these taxes they're supposed to pay, I think everybody will embrace taxation.
As banning groupage cargo, clearance protects small traders who cannot afford to import full container loads individually and rely on consolidation to remain competitive. Cargo to come in groupage is consolidation, it's legitimate, and we can't ban it. What we have banned, or what we have stopped, is the use of container leaders. Now, Fiona, the good news I have for you is that among the new tax proposals,
now you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887, and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
NRM Liberation Day is celebrated every year on 26th January. It marks the historic day in 1986 when the National Resistance Movement, NRA-NRM, led by Yoweri Museveni, seized power after a 5-year guerrilla war, overthrowing the previous government. The day is a significant milestone in Uganda's modern history, commemorating the country's journey towards stability and self-determination. On Monday, 26 January 2026, under the theme, Tribute to the Patriots who ushered in a fundamental change. The nationwide ceremonies and military parades, reflecting the NRM's emphasis on unity and development, will take place at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds. Join us for the live broadcast as we shall relay the activities of the day on UBC TV.
The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment SAGE program is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
Amaina gange ninze Joyce naishiga ati anu mfugi wa Gombola Kiyanyi dukisisi na Mutumba n'abaana banga oyo yaba tukobe baje batuwandikisya ate bakati tuzokuwa obuyambi kabatu ya Katonda gaba kiralu omukagwa iso omuseveni natuyirike sabakaire neyanze okusoka neyanzirye omuseveni akasoka kasoka okutuwa yatwere mutwalo 15 ninjake 5 ekumi ningula kabuli tena ila natwe mutwalo 10 akona bana nabizizu nokulya kwako ningule kintu natwire ka 2 ako ningula motete mbuli tete natwe 15 tete ningula makabuli nikato musajo natwe buyame no kutu kufirukira bizibu tuli nabyo tuli n'abaana basomi nzo tumulani n'abaana basoma eyivude bakobera abaana tumwamushoma asomera bugazi nenga nakabula kanda kasokolo kubyalwa natundire ninyirukire mwana kale nze nkola atundyaku ninkolera indyaku indeka akabuli kasoka insu nesente ja Museveni mbakizu kyensonanga musona mu bintu ebyo nakasigala ninkolaki nindya aya tulika abantu bangi aya bana nokusoma yanke kwaluwe sente gibanzibu ate notako mwana asome kandi nkolere nta bulo nintunda mombuli oyo nimpoyo mwana kwa kusoma wewe bintu ebyo ne utagulika otako mwana ataka kusoma ate sente bula ata nunze ne bali government okutuyirikira ise inganze lumoja ntumula ku lwange tima tabaninga basiima nze ne bali Museveni okutuyamba atayamba abantu bona ayambe n'abaana basomi.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all. The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment, SAGE program, is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
Amabara gange Nyosepiriano Kyalgonza musomesa w'ekereziya ndi Kyegegwa Town Council Kyegegwa district kanta katunge sente za bakayikuru hego nkabande hano baitundi musomesa nakuri natunga yoga kasente katoito itwe tusaina abakora hanyuma nanyowe nagenda nayihandikisa hanyuma akasente batandika kukatwereza batandike kutwa sentezi nanyo kinacwire mu nkabanza kwiteka musirwa Rosemary natandika kwitemesa kisaka na bya Rosemary yegi ate ubuna yongire nkaba nindu mu butunda nabwo nakoraki natandika kubulima kabanza kubulima haishaho bwarugaho nengera na hati nabugara ishyaka buri bwagena bukunguka hanyuma ikirugiremu hatobwire buno natandika kutunga empunu hanyuma kinabana zyankonyera empunu natangiye kuyitunga nintunda ninyamu akasente akukonyera eka yange mukazi wa hamwe n'abana bange. Eki nimba ninsaba kunyongera abukuba nyina abana nyina omukazi kandi obu n'abajukuru bange bona nabo nyinabo baroho bona nibetagisa rubaju rwange. Ninsima president kubanza ayatekerizeho ito nk'abantu bakuru kandi twahaga umusoro twagurugaho twagaruka mu maka gaitu baitu nimusima muno gavumenti eno enyakuroho eyebali kuteekaniza n'okuteekerezaho.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all. The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment SAGE program is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
akakoya kwida mabita kuchini ku radio yatukobera yamatiza naje kutaya kubawo ali mwekandise akasende kasoka nkafuna nagwa munguchi enkoko edaba dukulu bange eruyo kabiri tuyafuna eruyo kubiri nata munguchi akabizi ngangulya ki kiegulya ngulya ebedukulu bange government enambi mubukebona empeku iki akasente nganywe munguchi ekyokulya ekyabedukulu bange tikati ebintu byenfuna okuyambibwa mbe nsaba government obusente bwetugwa butono bungi ngani kusaba ebe etugemeku etwongezeku tikati nze n'ebizibu ng'ebyobulwaire omuntu amaiso gasiwulira omugongo buli guluma era ebigemo birima bume era n'essaawa eyo nfuna nkozesa ki eddagala ery'ekirugavu mpakirikola nga nsaba gavumenti ebe etungeewo kasente. Ndikusiima gavumenti ebintu bino buyalambala n'alowooza ati bwejja okutwala kambafune kuyo ki obuyambi nga tukikoze ki titumusabye kyaba kirowoozo kye kyamukulu waife atutwala.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all. The Senior Citizens Grant under the Social Assistance Grants for Empowerment SAGE program is Uganda's social protection flagship program, providing regular, predictable, and reliable direct income support to older persons. Since inception in 2010, the SAGE program has positively impacted beneficiaries' livelihoods, contributing to the overall national socio-economic transformation. The government of Uganda has continued to fulfill its commitment to the expansion and sustainability of the SAGE program, ensuring income security, dignity, and improved basic standard of living for older persons in all local governments across the country.
Nina emyaka 86 omuluka Kabakedde ombola y'Eruweero disitulikiti y'Eruweero kubanga eyo engeri gye byantegeeza nze awo we nagaanira ne ngamba nze sinanagenda mu ebyo n'abaana nga sinnabagamba bwe yagira ki abaana ne mbagamba ne bagamba mama genda ne banzikiriza. Sente ze nakafuna ndowooza gira emitwalo nga 6 oba zisobamu awo sikyajjukira bulungi kubanga nze kazitanzifuna naye nkola embalirira ne mmanya nti zituuse bwe ziti ne nziteeka awo ku kayumba kange ako ne ngamba oluvannyuma ndifunamu ate ekigenda mu maaso naye nga sizizizza ku mmwe kuzoonoona. Nzizimbyemu akayumba ennyumba yange sente ezo ekyokunyamba mu bukadde bwange ofuna omupangisa ng'oyo ng'omuteekamu ng'ofuna ebintu byonge ebyo ng'oterekamu abaana bazze bakuŋŋaanye. Era nsaba buyambi bunyingire kano nkaggale nakali nkaggale n'okkoona okulongoosa bwe buba buwedde awo kale ng'ate empulaaninga ebirala wali. Neebaza nnyo nnyo era nsiima ne ssekusiima kubanga ssinza kukisuula wadde nange nnyongerako naye ziri ze zisinga okumpagira.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Zino twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abantu bangi nnyo ababonyebonye bambi, NRM bakakasa nti ejja kubaja mu bizibu. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena, twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga. Okusosola mu mawanga, okulowooleza mu bibiina, okutugumbula abantu, ebyo bye twaja okumalawo. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena, twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena, twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abantu bangi nnyo ababonyebonye bambi, NRM bakakasa nti ejja kubaja mu bizibu. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena, twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga. Okusosola mu mawanga, okulowooleza mu bibiina, okutugumbula abantu, ebyo bye twaja okumalawo. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena, twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga. Obuyenguzi n'obubi n'okutemula abantu, okulowooleza mu madiini, ddala ddala ffe tujja kubimalawo. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena, twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena, twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga. Abatuuze b'eggwanga kambabulire mwena, twamala emyaka etaano mu nsiko olw'okulwanira okununula eggwanga.
Wow, that tribute to the fallen comrades who did all it took to ensure that we have the peace and stability that we are enjoying today. So, of course, there were a number of faces there. Some tasted the fruits of the struggle. Others died during the struggle. I saw once Army Commander Nyakarima, the late Noble Mayombo, and Kazini. Now those at least tasted the fruits of the liberation. But also there are those that died in the struggle and never did taste that. The likes of James Ndahura. Allow me send regards to Vastina Ndahura, Stella Ndahura, Mary Ndahura, and Uncle Johnson Ndahura. Yes, we are tasting the fruits of the liberation. 5 years struggle to see the peace, led by then Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who led the rebels that later captured power, and now 40 years celebrating that their struggle did not go in vain. Well, today at Kororo, Ugandans are gathering in huge numbers, and of course many will be on screens watching as we celebrate, or what you can call the 40th NRM Liberation Anniversary. Now this time it runs on a theme that is very important, tribute to the Patriots who ushered a patriotic fundamental change. Tribute to the Patriots who ushered a patriotic fundamental change. And I'm not alone to discuss this morning. I'm joined by Honorable Mike Kennedy Sebaru, who is a political analyst, a seasoned politician, but also a Rotarian. He's with me to discuss some of these things. Now, one unique thing about Honorable Mike Sebaru, he was in the CA, the Constituents Assembly, that gave birth, of course, when we look at the Constitution we cherish today, and one of the fruits that we now operate a country under a constitution as the 1995 Constitution as amended. Honorable, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother. It is a pleasure once again joining you. We've been interacting quite often. I always enjoy being part of your show because of your unique way of moderation, for which we are thankful. I want to greet all those that are viewing us and following us on the various platforms associated with this great media house. And I would like to congratulate you upon going through the electoral process and living to celebrate 40 years of NRM leadership by celebrating the day that peace and security was ushered in by the Patriots, whom we are celebrating today, and living up to the spirit and letter of the fundamental change. Thank you for being part of this event, and thank you for the liberators who are still living, all those that made a contribution to this process that created the fundamental change that we're enjoying. I salute you and wish you all the best as we celebrate this day.
Now, Honorable, to begin with, we are at a time, 40 years. There are many Ugandans who are not yet born. There are many Ugandans who are born but were young, and we don't have any memories of that, or they don't have any memories of that apart from what they are told by their parents. This anniversary, first, what does it mean to someone who could even be home? It's a public holiday. But they're asking themselves, we are home, anniversary? This is about NRM, if it has NRM, NRA. So where is the connection? We have to go work, make money, We lose so much every public holiday as a country in terms of revenue and tax. So to that person, what does this day mean?
First of all, the day does not mean NRM. The day means Uganda. The fundamental change that was ushered in is not all about NRM. It is about all people of Uganda. And definitely what we've been able to achieve in the last 40 years was not achieved by a section. It is driven, and it is for the purpose of creating a fundamental change in the country. And the fundamental change can be appreciated from various perspectives.
Maybe, sorry to interject, before we even go to the fundamental change, what exactly, I want you to speak to that youth on this day, 40 years back, on this date, this very month, what exactly happened?
Yeah, okay. On this day, the NRA, as they were known then, National Resistance Army, captured Kampala and indeed took over power. And President Yoweri Museveni, who was then the leader of that outfit, was declared president of the Republic of Uganda. So after 5 years of the struggle, and it is a people's struggle, that began in the bushes of Ruelo, went on capturing ground and territory until such a day when the government of Tito Okello Lutwa was overthrown, and the realms of power, authority, and leadership fell into the National Resistance Army, commanded by General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and that began a new leaf. It opened a new page in the history, in the governance, in the leadership, and the politics of the country called Uganda.
Now, still to the Gen Z's honorable, a rebel taking over government.
A freedom fighter.
A freedom fighter,
Yeah,
because by then it was seen as a rebel.
He was a freedom fighter.
Okay, a freedom fighter, let me change the term. A freedom fighter taking over government. 40 years down the road. What is the relevance of this?
And a freedom fighter working with the people, supported by the people. There is no way he could have been able to create the change he did if he didn't get the support, the ownership, and the appreciation
to
of
the young boys at university, the young girls at university,
people
40 years
left
down the
university,
road.
People left
why?
university, joined the people,
What does it
abandoned
mean to
the
them?
lucrative
Why would
jobs.
we celebrate? Why would we spend millions at Kololo? You know, I want you to bring this, to put yourself in a mind of a Ugandan, because majority of our population are youth. And when they see certain things, it is very important that we focus and bring perspective to them to better understand it. 40 years down the road, they're asking now, I mean, what is it?
But
why is it even a public holiday?
Yeah, I think what needs to be done, and this is something that all the parents, all the people should be sharing with the generations that come thereafter. We all need to share the history of our country with the upcoming generations, for them to appreciate where the country was at one point in time, where it is, and where it is going. It is by appreciating where we came from that you can be comfortable and appreciate where you are and the circumstances under which you got there, and also be able to make your contribution in making Uganda a better country. Uganda is a country that was under colonialism. After colonialism in 1962, we got independence. Soon after independence, we started getting some turbulences, the 1966 crisis, where the Kabaka was overthrown and the Lubiri was attacked, and a wave of instability was ushered in. That leads us to 1971, where General Idi Amin Dada overthrew the government of Milton Obote, and he took us for 8 years of dictatorship, ruling by decrees, where literally the systems were broken down. That leads us to 1979, when we get a liberation force supported by the government of Tanzania, and incidentally, President Yoweri Museveni was part of that, with FRONASA as part of the fighting wing. Power was seized in 1979. Amin was overthrown. We go to the elections of the 1980, which were largely rigged, and President Museveni and his team had made a commitment that if elections were rigged, then they would go and fight and ensure that they restore a democratic leadership, constitutionalism, and credible leadership. That then ushered in the 5 years of the struggle, as it were, by the freedom fighters, beginning with the 27 of them, and eventually many joined. Young people were leaving universities, were leaving colleges, even secondary schools, to join the patriotic duty of liberating the country. Then come this day that we are celebrating, the struggle achieved its objective of changing leadership and governance of Uganda. Then the NRM took over. NRM led, to began by the NRC. Those were historicals and members who had been in the struggle. Then it came to a point where we needed to have a new constitution made to reinvent, rediscover, and reposition Uganda. The Constituent Assembly ushered in the first election under universal adult suffrage. Previously, we were electing by electoral college, individuals being elected to represent others, so it was not universal, it was not per person. And on top of that, the electoral process also involved aligning, which had its own challenges, but it was abandoned in favor of free direct election under universal adult suffrage. We got the CA. I was lucky to be part of the CA. I was representing the youth. Now the young people are also being brought. Affirmative action took root. And if there is something we need to celebrate about 40 years, it's about affirmative action, where all sections of society were included, the inclusive politics. You had the youth being represented, you had the women being given an opportunity to be part of decision making, you had the disabled being brought on the table, you had the workers being accommodated, and the elderly also having their space. And in the CAO, these sections were included, which made Uganda appear like a big mirror, where every section of hitherto disadvantaged members of the community were now included, and they would be able to see their image in there. So the CA debated, enacted, and promulgated the 1994 Constitution, which ushered in another level of fundamental change, you know, putting to order, creating systems, processes, procedures of governance, which we are using up to today. And that constitution is the mother of all laws. From that constitution, we get parliamentary acts of, to give legal effect to the principles that are enshrined in the constitution. So since then, we've had 7 elections, much more than we ever had put together the time of colonialism, of our independence. So we have had that. Then you got to a certain level, you go to rehabilitation, reconstruction, and then we started the journey of development, you know, in other areas like in infrastructure development, service delivery, and all other areas. For the young people and the Gen Zs, we should note that there was a time in this country when everything was imported, even bread, even soda. And Kenya was our main source. It was like our supermarket, because everything, someone would travel, coming back with a loaf of bread, you'd be excited. Someone is from Nairobi, and in his park he has some bread, some margarine. Basic things were never produced here. So that is the level where the country had gone. But now, when you see oversupply, when you see supermarkets, different brands, coloring up the city, that is the fundamental change we are talking about. And fundamentally, you look at peace and security. You know, a secure, stable Uganda is something we may take for granted now. But since independence up to 1985, 86, Uganda was characterized by instability, and lack of peace and lack of security was the order of the day. So when we celebrate this day and when we talk about a fundamental change, basically that transformation is what we are talking about. People enjoying their rights, people enjoying their freedoms, people associating, people collaborating, people engaging in gainful, productive activities, the economy getting up on its feet, up and running. A country that was an exporter of refugees is now a net importer of refugees. We have one of the best legal frameworks to do with the refugee regulation. We are visible now in geopolitics. We've participated in liberating other countries in our neighborhoods. We've participated in stabilizing the country and the region. Kampala now is a diplomatic capital where different meetings to do with the regional initiatives are held. So we have a stable economy, we have a stable currency, we have the fastest growing economy. Our life expectancy has increased from 42, now approaching 60. All those are characteristics of a growing country and development and progress.
Well, first I want to thank my guest for giving us that history. Now that Gen Zs, at least you're at par with what Uganda was, what Uganda has become, and the reasons you should celebrate today. Now, Honorable, among the things you talked about was the fact of an election that did not go well, that prompted the patriotic leader then, with a few comrades, to take on. We've just concluded an election, and you still rightly said, this has been the 7th election that we've had under adult suffrage, of course, after the CA. The theme is very clear, tribute to the Patriots who ushered a patriotic fundamental change. Given our elections and how they have been, are we still on course with what these patriots, if they are to return today, is this what they craved for and those that lost lives died for?
Yeah, in principle, we are on course. In detail, there could be areas that we are yet to perfect, that we are yet to put to what is most desirable. But the most important thing is to follow the Constitution in terms of governance. Every 5 years, we must hold elections, and people should occupy leadership offices with a mandate, with the full mandate of the people, given them through an election that is free and fair and credible. And ever since we promulgated and enacted the 1994 Constitution, 95 Constitution, sorry, we have never missed any electoral cycle. We've followed that in spirit and letter. Every 5 years, we've had elections held. And the president and all leaders have been able to enjoy their leadership mandate with the express authority of the people through a democratic electoral process. So that is the first principle, adhering to the calendar, the electoral calendar and the cycle. We've done that perfectly well. We started by electing using the Electoral College, which had a bit of limitation in terms of the power of the individual Ugandan. You know, having another person elect for you does not give you full authority. So we've since left that and went to universal adult suffrage, where each individual Ugandan of 18 years has a right and obligation to vote. And that has been done well. Every other year, the electoral, we update the register to bring on board those that have come of age. So even the Gen Zs at different levels have been joining. You know, from whenever they turn 18, they have that right to join the electoral cycle and be part of the electoral community. So that has been done. We have an electoral commission which is appointed to oversee matters of the electoral processes, and that is in place. We have electoral laws that have been enacted, and they are among the most progressive ones. Even our constitutional order is indeed very progressive, to the extent that it foresaw a scenario where someone can be elected and there are reasons upon which someone can petition. If people are not satisfied, they have a right to petition. That is only in Uganda. Many jurisdictions don't have this kind of provision. Even in the West, Once a leader, especially a president, is pronounced, you can never dare to petition. Even in our neighboring Tanzania, it cannot happen. So for me, that is a very progressive and very fundamental, to the extent that even our electoral laws have been designed in such a way that the president cannot be sworn in until any petition that is provided for is disposed of. That's why there is a time between the electoral time and somewhere around May to allow any electoral petition made against the winner to be disposed of. Those are very progressive and very fundamental. You don't simply find them anywhere. So that the president gets to be sworn in without any encumbrances that would affect the leadership. Now, that is very progressive, and it gives room for people who are not satisfied to use legal means and judicial means to have their issues settled. And that specifically, basically goes to the 1962 Constitution, because in the 1980 elections, you didn't have any opportunity even to petition. There was no such a thing. So having learned a lesson from that, you find that fundamentally the constitution that was made had a remedy for that by providing for that. So basically, with all this in place, it allows us to do better and better. You know, constitutionalism and perfecting electoral processes and procedures is not an event. It is a journey, it is a process, and every other time we've kept on improving, moving from lining, going to moving from electoral college, going to universal, even within the universal, getting the people to vote in the open. You remember previously, people would vote in a room. Each candidate would have his ballot box. Someone would enter a room. You don't know what is come with, what is offloading. Someone has his own ballot. You know, you don't know what is in there. It is not opened before the general public. But right now, we vote in the open. You tick your candidate in a basin in full view of everyone. And the ballot box is one for everyone. Before you begin, it is displayed that no content therein. All those are aimed at creating a higher level of accountability of the electoral process. And finally, like recently, we went to the voter verification machine. The idea of importing and bringing that technology on board was to take the electoral process to a higher level of accountability, where your thumbprint can be verified, your facial can be verified, and the ballot. Unfortunately, it didn't work, but the spirit was there and the commitment was there. It was only failure of technology. So what I'm trying to put across is that fundamentally there are different steps, there are different initiatives, there are different processes, procedures, systems put in place to create a higher level of accountability, credibility of the electoral process.
Well, that's responding to the election process. Now, going back to our theme, tribute to the Patriots who ushered a patriotic fundamental change. Honorable, I want us to talk about patriotism and people being patriotic, loving their country, to the fact that when they saw it go to the dogs, they said, we will lose lives, but cause a fundamental change. Today, do you see Ugandans patriotic? Do they still love their country? Have they lost hope in their country? Have they lost love for their country?
No, not necessarily. Definitely, there are those that are not patriotic. There are those that speak ill about their country. They go in foreign capitals, and the mission is to blackmail their country, to malign their country, to talk ill about their country. There are those who never appreciate anything good of their country. There are even those that wish to go back to colonialism, that level. But you are not driven by such. We have people who are patriotic, and patriotism is not something you buy. There are those that feel for their country. And to be patriotic, you don't have to go on the rooftops and yell about your country. There are those who do it by action. Whenever called upon, whenever need be, they are always ready, available, and willing to identify with the cause of the country. They may not be very vocal, they may not be very visible, but indeed they have their country at heart and they do what it takes to be a patriot. But there are those that are not patriotic, and very often they are very, very audible, very visible, very, they make quite some good, I don't want to call it noise, but they make it known that they are not. So those are there, and you can't do much about it. But as the leaders of the country, we must continue doing the right thing, espousing on the right feelings, and getting people to appreciate what is being done in the best interest of the country.
Honorable, I don't want to believe that you forgot to mention of those that swindle huge amounts of money, those that are in government, of which many could be your party members. We already see the Auditor General's report, the IGG's report, how money disappears.
Yeah.
You've not forgotten, I want to believe, to talk about those who've just gone through an election that have used money into victory, allegedly. There's those that have used machinery to oppress their opponents, those that have messed the political terrain of this country to come into a level where what would have been clean and smooth, those that have refused to accept defeat even when they know.
Yeah, and I don't want to attribute this to a party or what. If you're patriotic, you are patriotic.
But they that have access to funds.
No, I'm building a point. Let's look at the patriotic and non-patriotic to begin with. You can have a patriotic person who is NRM. You can also have a patriotic person who is not NRM, but he's patriotic. He feels for his country. He does good for his country. He respects and cherishes and champions the cause of the country. So let's look at the patriotic and non-patriotic. So when it comes to corruption, let's identify the corrupt regardless of where they fall. Once you are corrupt, you are not patriotic and you are not desirable. You are not good for this country. You are not someone that is celebrated. You are someone who should be isolated, who should be condemned, and who should not be entertained. So we have those. And some of them may be part of the NRM, some of them may not be. Because when you talk about corrupt people, you go into the civil service. There are people with all political shades, but once they are corrupt, and they should be condemned. And once they are good, they should be celebrated regardless of their political orientation. So let's look at good and bad. And let's appreciate good wherever it is, and let's condemn bad wherever it is. You are not any better NRM when you are corrupt, and you are not any worse opposition when you are good. You remain a good person. So we should preach the gospel of goodness for Uganda. Even when you are in the opposition, even when you are in the government, be a good citizen. Be answerable, be transparent, be accountable in all that you do. And this should cut across the political divide, the social divide, the racial divide. When you are in the corporate, be a good corporate for the good of Uganda. When you're a church person, be a good church leader for the good of Uganda. When you're a traditional leader, be a good one for the good of Uganda. I want this to be put across all forms and nature of leadership. All leaders in our different jurisdiction, let's be exemplary, let's be accountable, let's be transparent, let's be a good role model. That is what will be good for Uganda. And once we get that in the majority, definitely Uganda will be a better place to be, and it will be able to move to the next level.
Fellow Ugandans, in case you've just joined, I have Honorable Mike Kenneth Sebalu, who is a political analyst, of course, a Rotarian, and he has been on the political scene of this country, one as a member of the CA, the Constituent Assembly. He's represented Parliament on direct ticket. He's been in the Pan-African Parliament, and of course, he's had other political offices. We are trying to look at East African Legislative Assembly also. Sorry, I skipped that. So he's a man who has seen Uganda right from his youthful stage, and I want to call him patriotic. Ask me why. I want to give you your flowers, Honorable.
Well received.
He's a person who taught me one thing, that Robert, you don't have to have a position to serve and love your country. He's a man you will call for a show and he will come. There are many you will call, and if they have lost an office and it's hard to see them, you wait. Members of Parliament who didn't make it back, that have been traversing radios at any time, TV stations at any time, give them a call. If they have no intentions of coming back, they lost offices. Ministers who may not make it back to cabinet, you know. But I want to thank you, Honorable Sebalu, that you've lived your word and you're very patriotic, and every time you have an opportunity to put a brick on this nation, indeed you do. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much for the compliments.
Now, moving forward, Honorable, let's look at the issue of human rights. 40 years down the road, well knowing that one of the issues that took the 27, led by the freedom fighter, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, His Excellency, and President-elect of Uganda, the incumbent, was gross violation of human rights. Today, we have various reports that talk about Uganda in terms of human rights, and you find out that some are not that very friendly. We see sometimes incidents of violation. Of course, sometimes we may not have the actual background to some of these incidents, mostly on social media, sometimes on TV, but all these don't rhyme well. If our patriots who fought for this were to view of what is happening, would they be proud?
Yeah, thank you very much. The issue of human rights is a fundamental issue. It is an important issue. It is a critical issue, and it is something that we should give due attention in all ways and everywhere. We've got in place institutions mandated to do with the championing, the empowerment of the citizenry, and the awareness on matters of human rights. We have the Human Rights Commission, definitely as a lead agency in that space. I'd like to thank them for the work they do in informing, educating, and empowering Ugandans about their rights. I really want to see the Human Rights Commission even more supported financially, given a better budget, for them to undertake one of their most important and fundamental responsibilities of civic education. Because through civic education, then you get the entire population, first of all, to understand, appreciate, and value human rights by knowing their own rights and how to defend their own rights, but also appreciating the rights of others. Because in the course of enjoying our rights, there are times when we step on other people's rights, which is not fundamentally a very good thing. So I really want the people of Uganda to be better knowledgeable and informed about their rights and the space that they enjoy in these rights, so that they also appreciate that by enjoying your rights, you don't trample on other people's rights. Then we've got ministries, departments, and agencies of government that are supposed to also be to take lead in this space. We've got the police, which is a law enforcement organ. We've got the prisons who play their bit in the correctional aspect. We've got the military, which is supposed to defend our rights of existence as a nation by ensuring that our territorial integrity is not trampled on or is not infringed upon. So those are very critical. We've got Parliament, which is supposed to make laws and oversee their implementation. So all agencies are supposed to do whatever they do within the law and guided by the law. Any situation that finds any organ of government, any individual in government, any officer of government trying to do their work without following the law, that is not in the spirit and letter of the human rights. So if we can be able to do whatever we are supposed to do within the law, even as citizens, whatever we do, even in the electoral process, as we support our candidates, as we go into the rallies, let's conform to the law. And those that are supposed to enforce the law, as they guide us, as they give us good indications of how best to apply and utilize our freedoms, they should equally apply the law. So if the law is followed in spirit and letter by all of us as citizens, officers, and law enforcers, putting the rights above anything, then we should get a higher degree of human rights. Right now, there could be aspects where individuals, because there's something that I want to bring to light. In enjoying our rights, let's be responsible as we enjoy our rights and space. And as we enforce the law, those that are mandated to enforce the law, let them not be overzealous. Let them not go beyond the legal requirements of the law. Let them also do whatever they do in respect and honor of the law. That way we shall be able to be better in terms of our human rights standards. But we have all the institutions, we have all the laws, we have the court systems, we have all instruments that allow us to petition where our rights are being abused, and those that do it can be brought to book.
Well, in case you've just joined, it is UBC TV, and we are celebrating the 40th NRA, NRM liberation. The main celebrations are at Koro Ceremonial Grounds, and His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, the freedom fighter #1, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, he's expected to be the chief guest in studio. I have Honorable Mike Kennedy Sebaru with me. We are trying to dissect these 40 years under NRM, where the freedom fighters took it and took arms and ushered in the peace that we are talking of today. Now, earlier on, Honorable, when you're trying to connect the Gen Zs to what it was then and what it is now, you talked about the economy. A big question that comes to many people, yes, we agree, we have made a tremendous leap. We've moved, our budget is now very huge compared to what it was in 1986, about 5 billion. Today we are talking about trillions of money that we collect as a country. But one question that lingers in the minds of many, with 40 years, is Uganda's economy where it should have been?
Yeah, 40 years. First of all, you need to appreciate where was the economy but at the time that the NRM took office, the economy had collapsed. There was no economy to talk about. If you look at the taxes that were being collected, if you look at the industrial base, if you look at the productive aspect of the economy, if you look at the exports, if you look at the inflation, if you look at all factors, the NRM took over a failed state with a collapsed economy. So in such a situation, that's why we started with reconstruction. Then you go to rehabilitation. That is trying to get something from negative. And this is something people don't normally appreciate. When you move like from -10 to 0, that is growth. But it is not being seen because it is simply moving to the starting point. So the economy was somewhere -10. So when you move -5, you've grown quite good stride. And when you move to 0, you've grown. But in terms of the empirical evidence, you are like at 0. Nothing is like done. And yet moving you from -10 to 0 is indeed progress. Now we start seeing visible growth when we start to the positive. So the economy, having been in limbo, getting it to life is a big, big achievement. And that took quite some years, from negative to 0. Some good amount of years were taken. You could talk of 10 or 15. You are trying to get things in order. That's why we even had to go to the drawing board of having a new constitution, breathing a leave of life in the country and in the economy, setting the laws, creating the policies that should allow and support the growth of economy, from a dead economy to one that is beginning to function at point P. So from there, then you start initiatives. You know, the road system broken down, you have to reconstruct it, you have to rehabilitate the infrastructure in the service delivery space, the schools, the hospitals. Then you create, you give support to the financial sector to operate in a manner that allows it to create effect. And you know, you are doing some paperwork and you are getting everything to move. Right now, 40 years down the road, the effects of that effort and initiative are being realized. You know, we now have very good trade balance. If I can give just an example with Kenya, we had everything imported from Kenya. We didn't export anything. Right now, the trade balance is in favor of Uganda. We export more to Kenya than we import from Kenya. That is a clear deliverable. That is a clear indication of an economy that has come to function well. When you look at the banks now, the financial sector, it is sound and serving people better. It had quite definitely collapsed. That is an aspect. When you look at the private sector, economies the world over are largely supported by the private sector. We've got our private sector growing to good levels. The industrial base has increased tremendously, and we are now doing good deal of manufacturing, adding value and exporting to hitherto markets that would never access. When you go to Europe, you find some of our products on the shelves. When you go to Dubai, you go to Kenya, you go to our neighboring countries, you know, we are having quite good in that space. And the private sector has grown and has been able to create employment. You know, we had employment limited to public sector, and public sector is not elastic. hardly 500,000 jobs. You can never go beyond that. But the private sector, which has largely been encouraged, supported, and given enabling environment, is doing good in terms of creating employment. Then you have the creative sector. The young people that are into creative sector have been supported with the youth fund, the women, and the girls through skilling. So definitely the economy now is one of the fastest growing economies, not only on the African continent, but globally. Our shilling is one of the most stable currencies globally. Our exchange has been maintained, and our productive forces have increased tremendously. Now the government is engaged in a process of getting those members of our community who are in the consumptive sector, producing for consumption. They are being encouraged with the parish development model and some credit to be able to join the monetized economy, so that you get the wider section of the people into the monetized economy. And government efforts now are currently geared towards ensuring that there is household income. Having done with the issues of peace and security, having done with the development, infrastructure, and otherwise, where people now have been able to create wealth and to create jobs. Now government is concentrating on getting the wider majority into gainful productive activities at a homestead level with a view of generating household income. So that is taking the economy from the books, from the policies, right into the people's homes and individual pockets.
Now, Honorable, you have explained what government is doing, and of course how we've had a tremendous shift in our economy. But one of the hardest things in life I've come to learn is managing success. And I want us to look at some of the areas that you've talked about. You've talked about goods that are now available, commodities where you find that yes, there's much we manufacture here, but you may find that sometimes we have issues of quality of what is manufactured. We have the surplus where goods are there and maybe markets are not that very good. But also when you talk about industries, it is a success that Uganda now have various industrial parks when you move around. But when we still do not have a law regarding profit repatriation, I want to talk about that people come and invest here, make money from us, make money from Ugandans, using cheap labor. Recently I was coming from Ruwero, and I met along the road very many young boys and girls, and the person who was driving me told me they are working on a certain in a certain factory. So I asked him, how much are they paid a month? I told him, actually, those are paid a day. I asked, how much are they paid a day? He said, starting with 2,000. But these were young in their youthful stage, trekking from their workplace. So we have these factories, the word meaningful employment, that you find, yes, our young girls, our young boys are working there. Then also when we talk about export, I'm happy we are doing some great work, but you find that we are still importing things in their raw form, of which many we've not added value. Talk about the budget you mentioned, but we still have a big percentage of our budget going to debt servicing. Can you imagine? You have a national budget, and about 50 of this is going to service debts. And finally, we have a youthful population. Credit to the NRM, I always say this to this government, that many that would not be alive today are alive because of the good programs. They were immunized. You can rarely see someone suffering from polio. I don't know if you can come across, but previously children used to be born and you go to a village and towards the order of the day, almost every family had 1 or 2 or 3. Now, managing success, the success that you've mentioned, still to a certain level is almost watered down by its challenges.
Yeah, and that is part of life. It is human, and it is that you can get even to a certain level and you start declining. That happens. There was a time when Britain was the big boy on planet Earth. Those days are long gone. Now they are no longer calling tunes. They are being whipped and guided and run around. You have now the US doing so. 100 years from now, it may be another force.
Russia,
it
North Korea.
It may even come from the African continent. You could even get it from the African continent. So these are dynamics of society, rising and going down and staying still. In life, managing success is the most difficult thing. Because to manage success, you must be ahead of everyone within the geographical area that you are. Look at it from the level of the rich men in the world. Every 2-3 years you get another one emerging, and yet the other one is still there, and you get others. But the fact that he's no longer the richest man does not mean he's not successful. He remains a successful person, but someone has overtaken. Someone has had certain factors giving him a competitive advantage and edge. So by Uganda being successful, it remains successful. There are areas where you may continue your success trajectory. There are areas where it goes down. And that's why I always share with colleagues, in any aspect of undertaking, 3 questions must always be asked. What is it that is working? Or what is it that we should continue doing in order to maintain our success trajectory? As a country, we need to ask that question. 2, as a country, we need to ask, what is it that we should stop doing, which maybe is affecting our success rate to go up, so that we identify it and stop doing it. And 3, what is it that we should start doing in order to enhance our success trajectory, which means we are not doing it. But if we did it, we would be able to even be at a much higher level. That's why government keeps coming up with the different policy directions and the different policy frameworks. For instance, the whole idea of parish development model is in terms of what is it we can do, and it is creating good success story. And if it continues doing so, then we should continue doing it. And there are those that we've stopped because they don't seem to give us the leverage of what we want to achieve, and we've stopped them. There are those that we continue doing because, like for instance, the whole idea of creating an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive, it is something we must continue doing, because it is the private sector globally that gets the economy functioning optimally. Governments in some places have totally moved out of doing business, and their role is regulatory, creating the laws, the policies that help the private sector to thrive, so that then you can be able to get good taxes, you can be able to get employment created, you can be able to get infrastructure put in place, and at the end of the day, you see the country thriving. When you go to places like Dubai, the private sector is deep into some of the skylines and the different initiatives. So we are a successful country. We are not declining by any means, but we have challenges along the way, depending on certain initiatives, depending on global trends, depending on internal dynamics and sometimes contradictions, but we move. You talked about the industrialization, people coming, attracting investors is something we must continue doing. Because when they do come, the issue of repatriation is there, and the government is through financial and other instruments is looking at it. That is a gap that has been identified, and work is in progress to have that.
Someone comes in this country,
loophole filled.
Gets tax holidays and all that.
But the most important thing,
employs Ugandans, at times giving them peanuts.
But the most important thing is that create that environment, make Uganda a good investment destination, which it is, make Uganda an attractive investment destination, let many of them come, and once they've come, they are using our services, you know, they are using water, they are using electricity, and they are paying, and that is good for the economy. They are paying taxes, and that is good for the economy. And when they come in good numbers, they will themselves start competing in terms of employment offering, because then people will be attracted to those that...
In a country that has no minimum wage, aren't we seeing more of isn't this deceptive?
No,
aren't we seeing more of exploitation?
But minimum wage, where is it? Many places, even the developed countries, they don't have minimum wage. But once the economy grows to a level that production is at its highest, the competitive edge within, even people start offering better terms in order to attract the best opportunities for employment. Once the economy grows, that comes in handy, that even companies themselves start offering better in order to be attractive to good skills. And that is where we are going. It is a journey, it is not an event, but we are getting there. The fact that we can get a bulk of our young people absorbed in some economic activity is good enough. But government is not even stopping at that. Government is even encouraging young people to create their own employment by supporting their entrepreneurial initiatives. And quite a number are benefiting. They are skilling. All these young people that have been skilled have even been given implements and trades of their tools of their trade to start, and many of them are giving a testimony that they are now employing others. So you use a multi-pronged approach in these initiatives and be able to come good and be on top of the game.
Well, just to remind you that today is a public holiday in Uganda, and we are celebrating the 40th NRM anniversary, and the main celebrations at Koro Ceremonial Grounds. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, is expected to be the chief guest, and anytime we'll be heading to Koro Ceremonial Grounds. Our team is on ground, and of course we will hand over to them when that time arrives. I'm still with Honorable Mike Kennedy Sebaru and me, Robert Chirabo Nyonyitono. We are trying to dissect these years. Now, Honorable, importantly to talk about is the fear of many Ugandans that day by day it seems our public debt is shooting. And of late, we even saw that because countries young, we have concessional and non-concessional loans. But the best is now becoming scarce. We've even gone for domestic borrowing, which many analysts would say it may be dangerous, because the commercial banks that we run to, if government is there, they would prefer borrowing to government, and also sometimes shoots up the interest rate. Talk about these 40 years. We seem at one time we were pardoned some of our debts. We seem to be getting back to that.
Yeah, that is a big challenge. It is indeed a challenge globally. And when you talk about some of these debts, the debt management and the public debt, there is this feeling where we imagine that there is no single world on planet Earth without debts.
No single country?
Yes. Even the mighty America has its own portfolios of debt and how they are handling and manage all countries, because you can't be in a state of isolation that you have everything you need at every time and all the time. the reality of managing
But
public
one would
affairs.
assume, like you've said, we are pushing our economy, we are going so high that our appetite then for borrowing would not and would be
Actually,
reducing.
what you should be looking at, the most important thing is being credit-worthy. Credit-worthiness is important. If you get to a point where no one is ready, available, and willing to give you credit, then you are in a red zone. But if you have that worthiness of being extended credit to, then you should also count yourself in a good place and a good position. But that does not negate the responsibility of utilizing the credit that you get gainfully in a manner that can get you from one place to another. Now, Uganda finds itself, like, you need to look at the history as I've been talking about it. Now, Uganda should prepare when our oil finally is out and is on the market. We should use the proceeds from that oil to settle and stabilize some of the areas that are giving us sleepless nights. We should be able to leverage in terms of the weight of the debt. We should be able to reinvest the proceeds of oil into high-level productivity engagements in order to leverage, because it is finite. It gets to a point where it gets finished. So you use it well and create capacity for survival beyond. So that is where now our actors in the financial, in the economy, in those spaces should focus. How best do we utilize what is before us in order to build that capacity that can, because we are leaping into the high middle income status. And to do that, we need our systems, our procedures put well, utilization of what we have. Even when we borrow, the idea of borrowing and you keep money for years you have not utilized, and then you attract interest,
yes.
all those. What I can say, one word, we need to increase our fiscal discipline. And I want to believe that those that are in charge of such must be at their best as we try to leap into the middle income status.
Indeed, well said, Honorable Mike Kennedy Sebalu. I want to thank you for your time for now, because I'm going for a commercial break, and in case we have to shift to Kororo, then we will not be able to return with you. But in case we do not, we'll be back with the Honorable. Thank you so much.
Let me just bid farewell, just in case.
Yes, please do.
Thank you very much, all our viewers. I want to thank you for taking off time and being part of this morning show at UBC. I wish you an eventful and interesting and exciting Liberation Day. Let's keep the peace. Let's guarantee the security, the stability of our country, and let's celebrate meaningfully. Those of you that have won, you know, we've just been in a process of electoral. Let's win with dignity and decorum. Even those of us that have lost, let's lose with dignity and decorum, based on mutual interest and mutual respect. Uganda needs all of us. Likewise, we all need Uganda, and the Uganda we need is the one that is secure, that is peaceful, and that is stable.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable. Thank you, Ugandan, who've been with us from morning. And like I told you, anytime we'll be going to Kororo Ceremonial Grounds for the main celebration. For now, have the best of your day.
The Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs congratulates His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Tibuhaburwa Museveni on his landslide victory in re-election as President of the Republic of Uganda and Commander-in-Chief of the Uganda People's Defense Forces. In the same spirit, the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs congratulates His Excellency the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the UPDF, the NRM government and the people of Uganda at the occasion of the 40th Liberation Anniversary of Uganda from tyranny and military dictatorship. The renewed mandate reflects the confidence and trust that the people of Uganda continue to place in His Excellency's leadership. President's consistent dedication to regional and national peace, stability and socio-economic transformation remains central to the country's steady progress. The Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs and the UPDF fraternity express pride in His Excellency's steadfast stewardship. Under his guidance, the armed forces have continued to achieve professionalism, discipline, and remained steadfast in defending Uganda's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The ministry reaffirms its unwavering loyalty and full commitment to His Excellency's command. We remain resolute in fulfilling our constitutional duty to protect the nation, its people, and to ensure a secure environment in which all Ugandans can thrive and prosper, protecting the gains, securing Uganda.
On behalf of the board, management, and staff of the Presidential Initiative on Banana Industrial Development, PIBID, and Banana Industrial Research and Development Center, BADIC, I extend hearty congratulations and best wishes, first and foremost, to the PIBID patron, also President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency General Yoweri Tibuhaburwa Kaguta Museveni, and to the government as well as to the people of Uganda upon the 40th NRM anniversary marked on Liberation Day, 26 January 26. As PIBID, or as Presidential Initiative on Banana Industrial Development, we reaffirm full commitment towards a modern and commercialized banana industry for Uganda.
The Minister of State for Ethics and Integrity, the management and staff of the Directorate for Ethics and Integrity warmly congratulate His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni upon the landslide victory in the recently concluded presidential elections of 2026. As we celebrate the 40th NRM Liberation Anniversary, the Directorate calls upon all Ugandans to cherish and uphold the national ethical values as a bedrock for Uganda's socio-economic transformation. Long live NRM. Long live His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, protecting the gains.